So I want to thank anyone who's going to be listening to this sort of interview segment. But more importantly, Carly, I want to thank you for your time. You know, we coached together for a solid 3 months every week for 2 hours, not
Right.
to mention the recordings that you were watching on your own, the workbook that you were utilizing with Infuse Theory in order for you to really own whatever those best practices were and how you were going to propel the business forward.
Right.
But the great news is I think a great coach is not only someone who helps you instantly begin to shift for better personal and professional change, but I think also a great coach is what happens 6 months later? What happens a year later? What
Hmm.
kind of measurable, sustainable growth have you created where you weren't just feeling high as a kite during the process, but it's now something that's embedded and it's become a part of what separates you from your target market? And in this case, you being in the real estate industry.
Right.
So 6 months has passed since our coaching. And what's amazing about you is that you continued your coaching journey with me. So now instead of you coaching once a week for 2 hours, you are now also in the inner circle program where you're coaching once a month for 1 hour, more of like a maintenance and getting those additional best practices as you're about to tell us in a few minutes, as you're also now looking at expanding your business and expanding the role. And it's giving you the courage to do that. It's giving you the proof of the pudding to do that.
Right.
Without that, this next step that you're going to talk about probably wouldn't have been possible. So
Right.
I've put together a few questions, and I would recommend that you just speak from your heart. Tell all of our listeners what they need to know, and I want this to be truly based on what you felt, what you've taken, and what's happening for you and your family after coaching with Infuse Theory. So, before I begin with my first question, is there anything that you would like to share with all of our listeners right now?
Yeah. Yes, Miriam, I do want to share something. I want to share a quote that really did resonate with me working and being part of the Theory team and part working with you directly as my coach. So, one of the quote that resonated is a coach is someone who tells you what you don't want to hear, who has you see what you don't want to see so you can be who you always know you could be. And I think that's beautiful. It really did resonate in my heart, specifically because you saw something in me that I didn't see. And you made me push myself and put myself in uncomfortable situations in order for me to grow and become a better realtor, become a better leader, and become a better salesperson overall.
And I appreciate you, and I thank you so much. That is a beautiful quote, and I'll take that. I'll cherish that.
Yeah.
Just going a little bit based on that quote, tell me specific things that you felt resonated with me, you, and Fuse Theory. What are specific things that you recall was happening or took place or that was said that you feel is now something that's going to be a part of who you are or what you think about every time you're making specific decisions?
I think specifically of like things it was hard for me to hear and things for me to actually reflect. You pushed me to reflect on myself of my flaws that needed improvement.
Like
And
give us specifics, for example.
specifically is asking for referrals. Before I was a lot of really scared to ask for referrals. I mean, I would still do it, but I would just, be frightened and worried about it. Now I don't, it comes so easy. And for you, it was so easy to ask for it and so easy to like ask for business. And now that's something that resonates me for all the time wherever I go. It doesn't turn off, it's always on. And that's what you taught us is to find, you know, gems and find opportunities everywhere you go.
And more importantly, the way we ask for it. And
Correct.
I think, we're talking about, in our case, the QR code that we've created that just
Mhm.
becomes a part of how we present. So we're asking for it without specifically utilizing those words.
Right.
And it's more of like, prior to us meeting, were you ever having a client evaluate their
Mm,
meeting with you each time?
right.
Probably not, right?
Exactly.
And the opportunity for them to evaluate the meeting, whether they buy from you or not, whether they sign the contract or not, and then turning that into the other people that you could impact along the way.
Right.
And getting the referrals, was it more of you getting the referrals, or was it more of that giver's gain? I'm going to give something in order to get something.
It was more the way of how you were teaching us, is having that giver's gain and having that feedback form, having those offering PowerPoints, offering them something in order for you to receive.
So if we're going to talk, you brought up the subject of referral before I get into my next question. How many referrals are you averaging now?
I average,
Every week or every 2 weeks, by utilizing the system that you've learned? How many referrals are you generating?
I average about referrals about 3 a week
That's
consistent.
incredible. People go through life and get 3 a year,
Hmm.
right? So you're averaging about 12 referrals a month. And even if, with our program, what do you think the closing ratio is, since you've learned the right way to prospect and then fact find and then offering PowerPoint leading into referrals? Some of this might sound gibberish to a lot of people, but
Okay.
it's okay. But
Yeah.
what has that closing ratio become for you now? Are you at least 50% or more?
I'm at least 50%, the ones that are like able to close at within the 3 to 6 months period. But some of them you have taught me how to follow up with them and nurture them to eventually be able to close.
Okay,
No
perfect.
one left is gets left behind. And one thing that's great with working with you, Miriam, with your systems, is you created systems and procedures for us to be able to follow up each lead that comes in, and how important it is to offer and give, have a giver's gain.
Right. Like script development. A lot of people, it's so amazing. I had actually a realtor in my session today who represents EXP, which is a very strong company. And, she was walking me through the script that was given to her to follow. And when I read that script, I, to me, that was not a script to prospect. That was a script to say, hello, would you like to marry me? It was basically, without creating like, know, and trust, it was asking you a bunch of questions
Mm-hmm.
and going into the selling mode, which is
Right.
which is definitely not a part of what we do when we are using a script.
Correct.
Because the number one reason we utilize a script is to just get the appointment.
Right.
Everything else happens later, that of course you know how to
Right.
do perfectly. So, what was your initial concern and hesitations? Go back to 9 months ago, right? What was your initial hesitation and concerns on hiring a coach? And because I know we probably had a beautiful courtship dance together for about a year until you came on board.
Yeah.
What would you advise to our listeners? What was the concern, and what should they know?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It took me some time. It took me at least between 6 months to a year that we were discussing and talking. My hesitations were, first was financially, like I think most of us have. Financially, I was really scared to commit that certain amount of dollar amount.
Hmm.
And I was scared that I wasn't going to be either getting it back or growing in some sense. So I had to really think about it and reflect. And multiple conversations that I had with you, Miriam, really did help to, in order for me to solidify and make the decision and to see the value of investing in myself. One of the Some of the greatest leaders and greatest entrepreneurs have coaches, and they need coaches and they need mentors in order for them to actually put them in the next level. I figured out within the time of our conversations that I wasn't able to do it alone.
And what would be your advice to people that are stuck? you know that they're, year after year, they're in the same place. They have these big goals in January. By December, they were in red.
Hmm.
What is your advice to the people who say, hey, I really want to work with Infuse Theory, but money is the only reason I'm not pulling that trigger. Let me close that one more sale. Let me close that one more, deal on the table. What would you say to those people?
That don't let get fear in the way. That trust the process, trust your coach that they're going to lead you the right way. Listen, pay attention, implement, and execute in order for you to actually put yourself on the next level, because the definition of an insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. So you got to make some changes.
So, knowing what you know now, knowing everything that we have learned together in that journey, had I just met you and you couldn't afford to sign up with Infuse Theory, and now you know what you would have gotten out of it just as a short of 3 months later, would you have gone and borrow money? Would you have gone gotten a loan? Would you have done whatever it takes to jump into that so that you can have financial freedom and professional success for the rest of your life?
No, 100%. I definitely would. 100%.
My next question would be, why did you feel the decision to invest in yourself, regardless of the cost, knowing that your business was not consistent? So I think, to be transparent, when we first met and you're open about that you were doing about one deal a month and sometimes not every month.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, I don't know, maybe if they make 10,000 in a month, that's going to last them for a while. But I think we've learned that X percentage of the money goes to investment, X amount goes to insurance, X amount goes back into your business, X amount is taxes, even though, we could write a lot of it off, that money actually ends up being less than half
Yeah.
once it comes to our vacation time or things that we need to do for our daily basis.
Right.
So again, the question was, why did you finally make the decision? What happened that you finally said, Miriam's been talking to me for almost a year, and I think I'm just going to do this? Where were you at that time in your life that you made the decision to give it a shot and dive in and trust in Infuse Theory?
I wasn't in a very good financial place at that moment, or not as good as I am definitely as now, of how much I have had so much growth. But I think what kind of was my aha moment is realizing that I had to do something to change and to push myself. That I knew that I felt almost alone in all this. And I feel that loneliness, that where I was at, and that darkness where I was at, I had to see the light at the end of the tunnel in order for me to push myself and to actually have that, what's the word, that that tremendous growth and success that I knew that was in me. But at the end of the day, Miriam, you did see something way more than I did, and you did see the potential that I had. And because of that, it made my decision more confident and more comfortable to be moving on and just taking the leap of faith and doing it. At the end of the day, sometimes you can't think about it too much. You got to kind of just have to push yourself and take that leap of faith.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I knew you have a heart of gold. I knew you really care about people. I knew you were honest. I knew your integrity was not going to be jeopardized. And I knew that this is what you want to do. I mean, your
Right.
background story was about, your father and real estate and what
Right.
that did for the family. So
Right.
if this is what you've committed to do, if this is what your passion is, who wants to be mediocre, or who
Exactly.
wants to represent a losing team? Either we
Exactly.
go all the way or we go home. And
Exactly.
that's what I saw in you. And I can't thank you enough for giving me the opportunity to pair up with you for success.
Right.
DISC played a big role in that. You know, Carly, most people don't know really what DISC is.
Mm-hmm.
They might, or if the ones that do, they might know what their own DISC is.
Right.
The deep dive into what is it and how is everyone's approach behavior, prospecting behavior, presentation behavior, closing behavior, and nurturing an ongoing relationship behavior. What did that help you understand, not only about yourself, but now with the clients that you work? Because for all the listeners on the call, Carly is today a top producer in the real estate industry. Today, she has more transactions that she can handle by herself. And only 3 months after the program, and now, ending the program, and 6 months after, so 9 months total, this lady now represents a strong team and is building her own team.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to have people that she's going to be outsourcing the rest to do parts of the job because she just has too much to do now and too much to handle, which is a great problem to have. Tell me how DISC played a role in you understanding you and getting out of your own way, but also how it's helping you with all these transactions you're consistently closing on a monthly basis, which I'm so proud of you for.
Thank you. Well, DISC is very important, and I highly recommend that everyone in all different types of professional careers should go through a DISC training, because you really get to know yourself and you really get to understand yourself, not only you, but other people as well, and which is so important. And going through that DISC training with you, Miriam, helped tremendously with different objections, challenges, learning how to deal with different personalities, how to attack different conversations with one person compared to the other person, and also understanding your flaws and your strengths in order for you to outsource some of that jobs, or in order for you to actually grow as well as a person. So I think it's awesome. I would definitely recommend someone to go through the whole tricks training. I love it. I think it's phenomenal. You really do learn a lot for different personalities. And I think it's tremendous learning how to talk to different people in different scenarios and different challenges and obstacles, because trust me, you'll be able to carry a good conversation with someone knowing their personality. And going through that DISC training, you will know within the first 30 seconds what kind of personality they are as well,
and how they would like to be treated versus
exactly
how you would like to be treated.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Now, some of our listeners might be asking, and these are some questions I've gathered from just my experience with working with people. Some of them might say, okay, Carly, if I was to invest working with Infuse Theory, how quickly do I start to see a personal change? Me changing and then my business changing. How quickly am I starting to see that I'm learning?
Well, honestly, you learn very quickly. I think you learn within the first few weeks, the first month, you start learning information, and it really is how you implement it, taking yourself accountable, showing up is the first thing you need to do, and then just soaking it all in. But you would definitely learn within the first few weeks. There's no excuses.
Perfect. As someone was saying, every time I got on a session, I always walked away with something.
Correct.
Never was I in a 2-hour meeting and didn't walk away with nuggets or things that I need to either change about myself, change within my leadership approach, or change within my self sales approach.
Right. Every single time we met, there was something out of it. Even if we do those 15, 20-minute, just quick phone calls, trust me, I always get something out of our conversations when we talk.
And another thing that I would say is, would you say that Infused Theory is way more than just motivational coaching?
Right. No, for sure. I would definitely say, even as a well-rounded person, remember we did a training of the whole circle of learning spiritual, mental,
yes, the wheel of life,
physical. Yes.
yes,
The wheel. Yes. one's so important. And I loved it because you really have this beautiful balance of harmony of working plus your own personal life as well, and how to balance it all.
Yes.
So, and we have conversations multiple times, and you share your experience and I share my experience, and you give me great feedback or great advice as well.
I
I
appreciate you.
love
Thank
that.
you so much. Thank you. I don't look at this as my next question. I don't look at it as bragging. Listen, when you're doing well, there is nothing wrong with sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
You should never hide your success. As long as there is no arrogance behind it, as long as you always share because you want to help others. Not I'm
Right.
sharing, but I'm not going to tell you how I do it, which of course you're not that kind of person. But
Mm-hmm.
be proud of what you're doing. Don't keep that a secret, because this allows other new realtors or even seasoned ones that are struggling to at least know that they can call you and gain whatever help that they might need. And
Right.
I know you're beginning to build a team, and I'm really proud of you. And I think that's another conversation,
Yeah.
because you had the sales only training.
Right.
That next training is the leadership development.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you recruit? What kind of people do you recruit?
Mm-hmm.
How do you build a healthy team? What kind of reporting do you have?
Mm-hmm.
How do you run team meetings? What kind of retention? What kind of incentives?
Mm-hmm.
So that you're not a hard leader, you're not a soft leader, you're something in between.
Right.
And you're respecting people as much as you did when they entered your business or when they exit the business.
Right.
And that their relationship with you, never to burn a bridge, and always make sure that when they say your name, there's some sort of inspiration or something they learned from you as their team leader that will always be a part of a guiding light.
Right.
So I cannot wait till we get into the leadership part of the coaching, which was not a part of the initial sales coaching. So one of my other questions would be, what are some measurable personal, professional, and financial, so personal, professional, and financial changes that have now taken place 6 months after the program? So, Miriam, here's where I was personally, here's where I'm now. Here's where I was professionally, here's where I'm now. Here's where I was financially, here's where I'm now. And of course, you don't need to talk about specific dollar amounts, but you could talk about the activities if you like.
Right.
So people can see in such a short period of time. When I talk about explosive growth, I talk about explosive growth. And
Right.
you've had that. So if you want to just elaborate on that a little bit, that would be awesome.
Definitely. Where I was before and now where I am after my training with Miriam, definitely I only close about one transaction a month. Sometimes maybe a month I would skip. 2 months will be great. And now I am closing about 4 transactions minimum, and sometimes it can be more up to 5. So I'm obviously busy right now tremendously, and I'm grateful for the training that I've gone through that helped me with different systems and procedures. And now I definitely have more systems in place. Before I didn't even have a CRM, and I would do everything in an Excel sheet.
I remember.
Now I have a full CRM that is functioning, that is constantly contact with all my sphere, the people who I know, with my past clients. I have different systems, I have procedures. I know when I first meet with the client, setting up an appointment, doing an doing a fact finder, doing an offering PowerPoint, doing the client feedback form, the client assessment form, as what it's called. Having all these systems that has literally reciprocated and has given me more business overall. It has made me a better salesperson. It has made me a better person. It has really had me become an advocate in my real estate career. And definitely it has made me create more of a stamp in this industry. And it has created me to not be mediocre agent, but being a professional and being an expert and having the knowledge. Because at the end of the day, it's caring about others, helping others. And I feel like you were able to teach me all that with combining it with this such of a warmth, caring way of giving all this information in a good place from the heart as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You people like you are the reason why I get up and do what I do every day. I know for a fact that if I was a realtor today, I would be a multimillionaire. I know if I was stayed in the insurance industry, I would have been a multimillionaire. But I gave my passion towards developing people and helping people like you make your dreams come true. And
Yeah.
through that, be able to find my own personal and professional success. So, in a way, for me, when I look in the mirror, that's my greater why.
Mm.
Instead of just doing things for me and my client, I wanted to help people like you be able to serve your clients and achieve that peace at night when you go to sleep.
Right.
You're making the right decisions and you're going in the right direction. Am
Right.
I right to say that today you no longer worry financially and
No.
that you are making at least the money that you're comfortable with? That's allowing you, I see you're traveling more. I love that.
Yes.
Am I right to say that you comfortably, if you were compared to another realtor, you stand secure that you have systems and processes that separate you from them?
100%.
Beautiful. And that every decision you make, you don't make it wondering if it's going to work. You
Right.
are doing it with intent and you know why you have to do something in order to get the outcome that you're expecting.
Yes.
Perfect. That's exactly where I want you to be. And I'm so proud of you. Last question to wrap up. And I thank everyone for being patient enough and listening to us was what do you recommend any of our listeners out there? What do you recommend, whether they're in sales or leadership or business owner, any industry? What would you recommend when it comes to what they should do next when it comes to taking their business to the next level?
I recommend to hire Infuse Theory. Hire Miriam. She's the best. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's been through it. She's gone through that road. Learn from her experiences, learn from her challenges, because that is very important in order for you to actually be able to succeed. And don't let fear get in the way for your, for your success. You're the only person getting in the way. So get that, put it aside and take the leap of faith and just do it. And trust me, you'll be so grateful and you'll be so thankful that you did do the decision, because you're investing overall in yourself.
Thank you so much, everyone. This is Carly Chavez. She is one of the top realtors. She represents Big Block Realty. She represents one of the top teams here in San Diego. If you have any questions, if you're looking to buy, sell, invest, if you're looking for a new home to belong to, give this lady a call. I know her heart. She's either going to help you or she's going to direct you to someone that can. Thank you for your time today. Big virtual hug.
Yes.
Can't wait to see you. Come to Aria for sure next week. And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much, Carly.
Thank you.